We're on the computer. Awesome. Hey, Michael, how are you? Long time no talk to.
I'm doing great, Laura. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, I am, making it along in this crazy, crazy market, which is very stressful, but nonetheless, I keep my smiley face on.
Excellent. That's all we can do. I know I was telling you off air that this is one of the toughest markets for a realtor to be in because not a lot of houses out there and interest rates are hovering around 6%. And you can correct me if you want, but the buying power has been diminished for buyers, and I've got buyers who are getting beat out by cash offers, or they're waiving all the inspections and stuff like that. And I've got sellers who, or not I, but there are sellers out there who are pricing their homes way high, knowing that the inventory is there, and those houses are sitting, and it prices out some of our buyers. And um I was telling somebody this morning, one of my colleagues, that I missed the days when we had a buyer's market, and I could write an offer with a home inspection contingency. I remember those days.
hmm Yeah, there's a lot of still waiving contingencies. Of course, I can't help cash buyers because they won't let me charge them fees. I
I
don't want to
know.
pay loan fees for using cash. Dadgummit. So I haven't figured that one out.
Yeah,
And but you have to have a good lender, and you have to take suggestion if you want to be a buyer. And you're probably going to escalate. You're going
yeah.
to pay above and maybe escalate and waive your inspections and stuff.
I
So yeah.
know, I know, but I tell you, we have to start with a good foundation, don't we, Laura? And
Yeah.
I was curious to know, like from your perspective, what should people do well before they even start looking for a home? What guidance would you give them? Where should they start so that then they can come to me and help them find a sticks and brick home?
I think they should first start by knowing where their credit is.
Okay.
So knowing where your credit is, and this comes up every single person I talk to is they, because so many of your credit cards or your bank, provides you with a consumer credit score. And that is a different credit score model than a residential mortgage credit score. We pull a tri-merged credit report and with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And we use the middle score. But that algorithm that spits out those scores for each of the bureaus is different than a consumer credit score. And this is usually very shocking to people, prospective home buyers, when their lender tells them their score is 30, 40, and sometimes more points lower than their consumer score. It's two different mathematical calculations. And, we're not mathematicians here. So I can't tell you the exact calculation that goes into play, but I know it's not the same algorithm. And the scores are, in general, on average, 30 to 40 points lower than what you see on your consumer credit score. So if you're getting a score of 640, you can think in your mind your score is actually closer to 600.
So,
And if
so let me ask you, when if somebody looks up their credit score and it's their consumer credit score, I get asked this a lot. Is that like a ding? Is that a hit on their credit? Is it a negative thing to pull the consumer credit online, just the random John or Jane Doe out there,
No,
or
that's
no?
not considered an inquiry on your credit report when you
Okay.
look at your own credit score. And you can go to annualcreditreport.com and pull your credit scores. But just keep in mind that your credit score when you apply for a mortgage is going to be different. It's going to be lower in most cases, almost 100%, but maybe there's one
Yeah.
off somewhere in the universe. But so if your score is in the mid 600s, there's going to be a lot of institutions, because your residential mortgage credit score is going to be lower, that can't do your loan for you. Many banks and credit unions need 640 or 660 or above to do the loan. So you can't probably just go to any old lender. Many of us mortgage lenders that all we do are not affiliated with depository institutions. We have programs for lower credit scores, but really what you want to do is improve your credit score. Take the
Right.
steps that are necessary to get higher credit.
Okay, and so before we dive into that, so what if there's two people applying for a mortgage to buy a house? You will really have 6 credit scores to work from, right? So how does, even if it's husband and wife or partners or whatever, how does that work?
So you take the middle score of each one, and then the lender is going to use the lower one of the two people. Or if you
I
have
see.
3 people, it's the lowest of the 3 people. If you have 5 people, it's the lowest of the 5. But it's the middle credit score. It's not an average or a mean. It's literally the number that falls in between the high score and the low score.
Got it.
So
Okay.
if you have 620, 640, and 660, 640 is your middle score. And then 2 people, whatever their middle score, and the lower of the two. That's what we're going to use.
Okay. So what can people do if they're in the below that threshold, or even right at the threshold, and they want to increase? What's one first step they can do, Laura, to improve their credit score?
Well, that's going to be another whole big discussion, and we've discussed it before. So you can definitely go on our YouTube channel and get that full discussion. But real quick, most of the time it's because their utilization of their credit limit is high. So if you have a $5,000 credit limit and you have $4,500, your credit score is going to be pressured down. You have to keep your credit balances below 50 is a good beginning marker, 50% of the limit. But if you can get to 30% of the limit, then you're going to maximize your credit score. So if you have $1,000 credit card limit, you should keep your balance at 300 or below. But your first target would be 50%. So it'd be 500. Once you get to 500, try to keep it below 300 to maximize your credit score.
Right. So how does a budget or spending plan help a buyer?
Well, the first thing a budget does is, you have to set a budget. You have to know where you're spending your money.
Yep.
And maybe even before you know where you're spending your money, you need to know how much money you're making. Because it's surprising, but many, many people have no idea how much they actually make. Like, what's their salary, what's their hourly wage, calculate out to weekly, and what is it that they actually get in their pocket after their, federal and state tax deductions and your whatever else gets deducted, your health insurance or whatever gets deducted. What do you actually bring home that you can spend? And then how do you spend that? You
Right.
really have to know that.
Right. And then the converse is true. How much are you bringing home, but how much can you save? Right. So
Right.
how does a savings plan help, and what does one look like?
Well, ideally, you want to be putting your away and paying yourself 10% of your take home pay into your savings every month. That's your kind of ideal sweet spot to work your way up to. Maybe you can't afford that right now because you have too many expenses that you've already committed to. But so start with something, especially like a teenager and a young adult that doesn't have housing expense. They should really learn to put away a good chunk of their money early so that they bring that habit with them into adulthood. So, but 10% is kind of an across the board good place to start. And you want to pay yourself first. Put that in savings. And when you put money in savings, you can have multiple savings account where you're earmarking each savings account for a particular thing, whatever, vacation, new home, car repairs. So you might have multiple savings account that are labeled differently and split
Right.
up your 10%, but you have to, it doesn't count as savings if you put it into a savings account and 2 days later you're taking it back out because you want to go out to dinner or you want to go on a vacation or you want to buy a new outfit or a Gucci
Right.
handbag. That does not count as savings just because you put it in there, it landed and then it took off again.
Yeah.
Savings is what goes into your savings account that actually sits there and waits for you to accumulate what you need to do whatever that big project is or for your emergency fund or something. Because I've had many customers go, well, I had savings. Well, had doesn't count as a
Right.
savings account.
Right. And the savings plan, that's different from an emergency fund, right?
Yes, because you definitely want to have an emergency fund because stuff is going to happen. And we call things emergencies all the time that really aren't emergencies because we know they're going to happen. If you
Yeah.
own a car, you know daggone well that the car needs maintenance and repairs.
Yeah.
It's not an emergency when it happens because it's going to happen. So you got to save for it. A tire is going to blow out, or you're going to have that 50, 60,000 miles on your tires, and you know you need new ones. So it's not an emergency when these things happen because it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. So you got to save for it. Because then it's not an emergency, it's just an inconvenience because you already have the money saved. So being able to save is a must when you want to be a homeowner. Absolute must.
So let's say they've created their budget, they've created their spending plan, they have a savings plan, an emergency fund. Are they finally ready to talk to you, Laura, about buying a house?
They are ready to talk to me.
Hey,
And
hey, hey.
actually, I'm super happy to talk to them during these other steps or to talk to them about these other steps so I can help them get started. It's never too early to talk to me. But if you've done all of these other steps, you're definitely ready to talk to me. But I'll talk to anybody, even before they're ready, but they have to get ready. If they're not going to do it, it's not even worth the conversation because I'm just yapping in your ear. I'm like a buzzsaw or something. Yeah.
All right, Laura. Well, then let's get back to me. When are they finally ready to talk to me, Laura?
They're already ready. And now,
Oh,
what
good.
what am I turning over to you? I'm turning over to you a ready, willing, and able
Excellent.
buyer. Yes. And we know that we're going to be so happy because not only are they ready, willing, and able, they can make stronger contract offers. They can offer over the asking price because they have a little extra money, or maybe they can do a little appraisal gap, incentive to the seller. Um, and we know they're going to be successful because we know when the house needs cleaning, maintenance, repairs, and updates, they're going to be saving for those things. And then we can refer a great contractor to them to get
Yeah.
those things done. So, I have tons of people that are not ready, and I definitely don't mind working with them, but you got to be willing to take suggestions. No, this is not what people want to hear. We want to do everything we want to do, but you got to make sacrifices if you want to hit your big goals. There's just no other way, unless you're a Rockefeller or, a Getty or your
Elon Musk
uncle
or
is Bill
Zuckerberg.
Gates and they're just going to give you a huge chunk of money. But the
Yeah.
rest of us average bears roaming around, we got to save some money and get prepared.
Excellent. Well, that's great, Laura. You really hit all of the right boxes here today for a buyer, and I hope that the viewing audience has learned something. That it's a lot of prep work, it's a lot of pre-production stuff. It's a lot better to do it up front before you start looking at a house, because the last thing I want is to look at a house and they love it, and then they're like, okay, we can't do it. That's why I have a kind of a rule. I don't show people any houses until I get a pre-approval letter,
Mhm.
because I don't want anybody to fall in love with a house and then find out later they can't afford it, or there's something on the credit that they had no idea about. and just better to get it up front. Better
You
to get it
gotta
up.
get it up front, work on it.
That's
You
all.
know, if you made mistakes, who cares? We all make mistakes. It's okay. They're not even mistakes. It's just you're learning what not to do. So,
Right.
talk to us, let us help you. Don't be discouraged. If you know none of this stuff, it's okay. You can learn. All of us can learn. That's what we're here for. But
Yep.
you gotta commit to yourself that you're gonna take the steps and then do it. It's gonna be
Excellent.
so exciting. And I
Well,
have a white paper that has some extra tips on there, and I'll be adding to them as I put some more thoughts on that. If anybody wants to text me, 301-674-7716. I apologize, I didn't have that on the screen today. And go to our YouTube channel. Plenty of other tips and tricks. Like, subscribe, share, and give Michael or I a call. We're going to be happy to work with you.
you got it. Well, listen, thanks, Laura. This was wonderful. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for listening in and watching. And we look forward to your feedback. Everybody have a great day.
Make it a great day.